Well, summer is just about coming to a close. We're already almost at the end of August now. It feels like the summer went by very quickly, but typically during the summer, you'll see gaming news slow down a bit as a lot of these companies, people will be going on vacation and everything. It's kind of this summer lull in gaming news, not necessarily for releases, but like just press releases and different things going out to update for games coming up or reveal games. It gets a bit quiet there. However, we are now heading into the holiday time period, Q4, and that's usually when things start to really get busy again. And I was spending some time going over the next 5 weeks or so, basically the next month, taking a look at what we have coming up, and it's quite a bit. Like there's a lot of stuff that's, I think, going to be getting revealed here pretty soon, and certainly things are about to get a bit more interesting in games. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure to hit that like button. Helps out a ton. And if new to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you're subscribed down below. So I legitimately just went through and picked out a lot of these events, and I kind of threw some games and some ideas as to what could be there. But I'm thinking for some of these events, I'll do like dedicated prediction or preview videos as we go along, especially for 2 of them, which we'll get to here in a bit. But let's start with the first event, that is Gamescom. This is taking place next week on the 23rd, and there's already a good chunk of it that we know about, as Jeff Keighley and some of these companies have started to make announcements that they would be at this event. A lot of them are games that we already know about, and Jeff has made it very clear that this will be a mix of new game reveals as well as just more gameplay and footage for games that aren't out yet, but we know about. So, for example, Sonic Frontiers will be there, and we're starting to see some seemingly concept art for new environments get out there. Maybe they share a new island or something, and they give us a release date. We've also heard that Hogwarts Legacy will be there, Outlast Trials, Gotham Knights, Callisto Protocol, Dying Light 2 DLC, High on Life, Goat Simulator 3. So they're kind of packing this certainly with, it kind of feels like 50% stuff we already know about and then 50% maybe new stuff. Like, for example, The Expanse, that's from Telltale. That's going to be something that'll be showcased there. There's a new IP from Unknown Worlds. They created Subnautica, and this is supposed to be a sci-fi strategy turn-based game. And some of the ideas as to, I guess, what we could see there, Dead Island 2, that was leaked out completely, coming out February 2023. Seems like the listing went early, and a lot of us are essentially looking at Gamescom as when they're going to do the big reveal. But otherwise, just some shots in the dark. Hideo Kojima, his Xbox game, he seemed to have been editing together a trailer of some kind, and maybe it's for Gamescom. He, of course, has ties to Jeff Keighley as being one of his friends, so that seems like a good spot for it. Tekken 8, Jeff was certainly pushing a lot about the quick reveal that took place at EVO, so maybe he's lining it up for Gamescom. Then I also put down Need for Speed. That has to be announced somewhere. It's supposed to be coming out this year still, so hey, Gamescom, seems like that's a good window to announce it and then do a big marketing push up to its release apparently in November. And then just for fun, I put down NetherRealm Studios. I mean, you could see a new Mortal Kombat or Injustice or maybe just a brand new title. So I'm thinking Gamescom is actually going to be pretty fun. Just keep those expectations in check. After that, we do have Disney's Gaming Showcase. This is going to take place at D23 on September 9th. They gave us an idea as to what we can expect here for a few titles, like Lego Star Wars will be there, the newest one, the Skywalker Saga, Marvel's Midnight Suns, and then we have Disney Dreamlight Valley, and Skydance New Media, that's Amy Hennig's new studio, and it's going to be a Marvel game. They said it was like an ensemble game, so people are speculating around the idea of maybe Fantastic Four. Yeah, that could be interesting. Can't be any worse than the other Fantastic Four games that we have right now. And then you think about stuff that they have partnered with Sony, like Spider-Man 2 or Wolverine. Could either of those be ready to be shown? Black Panther, that is one that's being rumored right now with EA, but apparently it's very early on. So that would be a bit surprising to be there. Kingdom Hearts 4, of course, that's something that people have wondered if they would showcase it there or if Square Enix would do it off on their own. And then you have Indiana Jones. I've been wondering if we're going to see this game here soon. It was like almost 2 years ago that it was initially announced with Machine Games. You kind of feel like they would have something. Sure, it might just be like a CG trailer, but just anything to give us an idea as to the direction of that title. So I'm thinking the Disney Gaming Showcase could actually be pretty good. I, like many, were kind of surprised they were going to do their own gaming showcase. I didn't think they'd have enough to make an entire show around, but because they're doing it, I have to assume they have at least some decent announcements there, so we'll keep an eye on that one. Afterwards, we do have Ubisoft Forward. This will technically be going on during D23 because that runs for like a couple of days. This Ubisoft Forward event will take place September 10th, and there is the idea that Prince of Persia: Sands of Time remake could be there because the trophy list went live randomly. However, I've thought more about that, and it's possible that that was already set up before, and they didn't really think to reschedule the trophies going live because it's kind of been all over the place in the background for this game, and it's certainly not gone the way that Ubisoft wanted it to. So I'd like to think that they're going to take more time with this title, and we may not see it until maybe next year, like late next year. Otherwise, though, Assassin's Creed, it's the big thing that's keeping Ubisoft going right now for like new titles. And there's that smaller Assassin's Creed game that was rumored. Maybe they show that there for a release next year. And then obviously this big Assassin's Creed Infinity project. Apparently it's just going to be a big live service game that has a bunch of settings for Assassin's Creed going forward. Almost like you have your base game and then expansions that go into it. But this would technically link all the currency and little things that they do across these Assassin's Creed games now. Feels like they've been building up to this for a while. But the rumor is that the first one is going to take place in Japan, and I think that's a good idea. It's a way to get people really interested in Assassin's Creed for this new big live service release. Skull and Bones will be there for like the 10 people that really care about it. I'm just not that interested in Skull and Bones. I really want to hear from someone who is interested, though. Let me know in the comments what it is about this game that's really grabbed you. Otherwise, Beyond Good and Evil 2, I mean, you got to give us something with this Ubisoft. I mean, really, we've been waiting to see more about this game for a bit. That wasn't just like this live stream tech demo where they flew around or a nonsensical trailer. Let's get the show on the road here with Beyond Good and Evil 2. Mario & Rabbids Sparks of Hope, that'll probably get a nice little push. And then I put down a Far Cry spin-off title because we do see that actually pretty frequently. When a numbered Far Cry come out, like Far Cry 5, then like a year later we'll get New Dawn. So we had Far Cry 6 last year. I think it'd be pretty interesting to see them do a Far Cry spin-off title, maybe for first quarter of 2023. And then we move up the following week to Tokyo Game Show, which I'll admit this is like anyone's guess because for the most part, we have like a whole list of publishers and partners that will be there. And I mean, it's the companies you'd expect for Tokyo Game Show, like Konami, Capcom, Koei Tecmo, Square Enix, Sega and Atlus, Bandai Namco, and THQ Nordic. So we'll see what they have there. Capcom is going to have 2 live streams. One that I think will just be a general live stream with different titles thrown in there, which most likely will include like Resident Evil 4 Remake. They'll probably have the DLC for Resident Evil Village. Maybe they'll talk about some VR stuff. Kind of depends on when one of these rumored events that we're going to talk about here happens. But it seems like Capcom's going to have a pretty big presence here, so that'll be interesting to see. Konami, I'm always hopeful that they'll show up with something good, like, I don't know, a good Metal Gear Solid game or just an interesting new game from them. Like, they've been doing a good job on these collections and remasters, but like for a big new title in the Metal Gear series, I've lost all faith in them for that. Otherwise, though, we'll just have to keep an eye on Square Enix, see if they have anything new to show there. And then obviously Sega, Atlus, and Bandai Namco. Also, they're apparently going to be doing a VR experience here. I think they did this last year. I believe, though, you would use like the Quest 2, and it's a more interactive experience for you to go to Tokyo Game Show. I didn't do it last year. Maybe I'll try it this year. Let me know, though, if you did attend this like VR showcase thing that they tried last year and how it went. But now let's get to some very interesting events that have not been announced yet, but I kind of feel like we are going to see them in the month of September. The first one is a Nintendo Direct. We generally expect one in September because we get that fall direct, and usually it lines up with like middle September for them to kind of put out any, I don't want to say last minute reveals and then releases, but yeah, sometimes Nintendo will announce a game and it's out in like 2 months. And that's kind of what we're looking at maybe here with a September direct for the Metroid Prime remake remaster that Jeff Grubb is absolutely positive this thing is coming out this year. And well, they're kind of running out of time to reveal and then release it because it's almost September. So they might want to get on that one. We also know about that new Fire Emblem game since just images of it leaked out. So we've seen it at this point. And then Advanced Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp. We kind of need to see that come out at someday. And I'm still thinking maybe they just pushed it out in December. At this point, they may as well just shadow drop it and just move on from it. There's probably not going to be any good time to release that game in the near future at all. So to me, you might as well just kind of get it over with, get it out there. But we do have a lot of rumored talk around different titles, like Kid Icarus Uprising getting a port to the Switch, a remaster. I think that's a fantastic idea because that game was really good on the 3DS, but there were so many hoops you had to jump through to play it comfortably to where you had to stand for the 3DS. It's like it would do so much better on the Switch, and I think it would clean up nicely for a larger display, a larger TV. So I'm hoping that one gets done because I would like to see the Kid Icarus series maybe get a big Switch game or Switch 2 game or something down the road. This might be a good way to show Nintendo that there is interest in that franchise. The Zelda Collection, we've heard about this at length. The Wind Waker Twilight Collection, and there's no Zelda game this year. Nintendo wants to do a yearly Zelda game. Seems like a good place to put it. Donkey Kong, there's apparently a 2.5D game out there somewhere. So good time, I guess, to reveal it and set it up maybe for like that Mario 3D World Bowser's Fury slot in Q1 of 2023. I think it'd be good to have a new Nintendo Switch Online system. We've been talking about Game Boy or Game Boy Advance. I wouldn't mind seeing a Sega CD edition to the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack alongside of the Genesis. I think there's some really cool games they could pull from that Sega CD collection. And I was also trying to think of a way they could close this out. The obvious one is Breath of the Wild 2, an update with the gameplay, just more of what exactly they're planning here with this title. But I think one kind of out of left field for people would be an update on Metroid Prime 4. I think it's difficult, me personally, for them to show us Metroid Prime Remaster and then just kind of move along from it. Like, they have nothing to say about Metroid Prime 4 despite talking about Metroid Prime Remaster. And, I mean, they rebooted Metroid Prime 4, which will almost be, 3.5 years or something? It's been a while since that thing got rebooted. I think just, here's Metroid Prime Remaster Remake. One more thing. Here's Metroid Prime 4, a trailer of some kind to give us an idea as to where exactly this game is headed. And then finally, the other thing that is being rumored for September, and it's looking more and more likely right now, and that's Sony's PlayStation Showcase. The reason this is looking more and more likely is because Helldivers 2 footage leaked out the other day, just randomly on Twitter. Popped up as like 10 seconds or so, and it immediately got struck down by copyright. It was just pulled off of Twitter. And afterwards, we have Dust Golem going on Reset Era saying, yeah, I had footage of it. I shared it. People started spreading it around. There is a September PlayStation Showcase as planned. And that Helldivers 2 footage, guess where, or Helldivers 2 title, guess where it was? The NVIDIA GeForce leak. I mean, that NVIDIA Now leak is just, it's 100%. Don't doubt anything on there. Looking forward to Final Fantasy IX Remake whenever that wants to release in 10 or 12 years or something. I'm kind of penciling in a Sony PlayStation Showcase for September, and you kind of see what I'm saying when things are getting packed. We're talking about a Nintendo Direct, a PlayStation Showcase, Tokyo Game Show, Ubisoft Forward, Disney Gaming Showcase, and then Gamescom, all happening within I feel like 5 weeks of each other. But the Sony PlayStation Showcase, Helldivers 2 apparently is going to be there. There's footage already getting passed around currently. Then we have Spider-Man 2. Sure, that could be there. I'm trying to think of who's going to show it, Disney or Sony. Maybe Sony just wants to keep it for themselves and start up, I think, a year-long push for Spider-Man 2. Remember with Spider-Man, Sony showed it 3 times in a row at E3. I can't imagine they don't want to have at least a year-long push for Spider-Man 2 when it comes to marketing. Seems like a good holiday release for them, or at least in like September, like that fall window, and then just have plenty of copies along with PS5s on store shelves for that holiday. And then we could have God of War Ragnarok gameplay there. In fact, I would hope there would be gameplay, because we've seen trailers that are just like cutscenes, cinematic, CGI. Like, I'm waiting to see that big aha moment with the gameplay that just sets it apart completely from God of War 2018. And I think this would be a good place to show it. The live service games, I feel like they have to show at least one. Apparently they have like 10 of them in development. Like, can one of them just be ready to give us an idea? Is Killzone coming back, right? Or are we doing SOCOM? Do you have some weird ideas with VR to where PlayStation Home makes this strange return and maybe under another name or something? Like, give us an idea as to what they have planned for live service titles, especially since Sony's kind of losing their mind over Call of Duty going to Xbox and Activision. We've seen through those documents that have gotten out there and translated. Might be a good time to get things rolling along here with the live service stuff. We know Guerrilla's working on multiplayer, Deviation's working on something with multiplayer. So I think it's a good spot to drop at least some sort of trailer. Team Asobi made PlayStation 5's pack-in game with Astro's Playroom. Ever since then, though, they've released video of their studio talking about how great it is to work there. Kind of sounds like recruitment videos to get more and more people to essentially come work with them. But I think the best way you can really push that further is to show what they're working on. Is it another Astro game? Is it an Astro Bot game for the PSVR 2? I kind of hope not, even though Astro Bot was good for VR on the PS4. It was limited. Like, the fact that you needed a headset to play that, it was going to cut down the audience amount immediately, because there are people who just don't want to do VR. And I think Astro is, I think, an IP that has a very high ceiling if Sony treats it right. I think it can at least have that general audience pull if Team Asobi is allowed to have the budget and create that big 3D platforming Astro game. That's at least my hope for that series going forward. But we know Team Asobi has been very involved with a lot of the R&D and hardware testing and figuring out different uses for it with Sony. So that kind of adds up to their next big title being PlayStation VR 2. But I guess we'll see that. I mean, otherwise, you just have to kind of look up and down the list and think of which studio is ready to show a very early version of their game. Like, could Blue Point show up with their game? At least, again, just show us what they're working on. Ben Studios. You also have Sucker Punch. A lot of these, we got a lot of games from these studios towards the end of the PS4's life, and we know that games just take a long time to make. So I'm kind of thinking that we're going to see games that are still years off from some of these studios from Sony, especially since they kind of like to do that, is show you a game that's you're going to play in like 2 or 3 years, and they'll just advertise it throughout that entire time. There's also the possibility that Kojima, we talked about that trailer he was editing. Maybe it wasn't for Jeff Keighley on Gamescom. Maybe it was for a PlayStation showcase, because there's a good chance that he's not only working on an Xbox game, but also on something with Sony. Could be a Death Stranding sequel. Could be a new intellectual property that's maybe even more horror-centric. So a lot of possibilities with that one. But otherwise, the thing that I would really like to see is just a bigger push for PlayStation Plus Premium with these classic titles. I don't know if it's just me, but like, they're really not doing a lot with that. I thought we'd have more PS1, PS2, or PSP games getting thrown into that service, especially since they're charging $120 per year. I just thought they would have been more driven to do that, and we haven't really seen that. So I would like them to show up here and say, hey, here's Legend of Dragoon. Just run like a 1-minute thing for it, a trailer. Hey, this legendary JRPG is heading into the service today. Start taking advantage of that subscription service, that premium PlayStation Plus, as a way to essentially shadow drop games right there during the presentation and give viewers something to get excited about right then and there. But certainly a lot to look forward to in the next month. I was a little surprised as I was kind of going through this and typing up the schedule for all these events. It's like, wow, there is a lot happening. And then obviously we'll get into December with the Game Awards, and we'll probably see some reveals there as well. So exciting stuff coming out of kind of the summer lull. straight into a bunch of events and just announcements all over the place. And then obviously a bunch of releases all over the place. So it's going to get pretty busy pretty quick. But let me know what you guys think about all these events that we have coming up here and which one are you most excited about. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.